In this pair of graphs, we'll examine the reflexive cardiovascular responses to the simple act of standing upright. In A over here on the left, we're looking at baroreceptor firing rate from the carotid sinus in the neck, as well as in the aortic arch. And we're going to look at their output relative to the mean arterial pressure that they are experiencing. And so at a mean arterial pressure of about 95, that's about normal blood pressure, about 120 over 80, systolic over diastolic. That would give us a normal rate of firing of these baroreceptors. Now note the sigmoidal shape of this curve makes it very steep around this normal blood pressure. And so if blood pressure were to rise just slightly, we would get a huge increase in the firing rate of those baroreceptors. In this case, we would get an increase in parasympathetic output, a decrease in sympathetic output, and a fall in heart rate. Conversely, if the blood pressure were to fall, if we were to move to the left here and have our pressure fall, our baroreceptor firing rate would decrease dramatically. That would dramatically enhance the output of the sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system. This would increase cardiac output through both heart rate and stroke volume changes. Now, what we're going to see here in our graph on the right in B here is that at the moment we stand up, we get a whole variety of shifts here in these cardiovascular parameters. And so the first thing that's going to happen is we're pumping blood against gravity now. And so the blood pressure being sensed in those carotid sinuses would be decreased. Again, that would decrease this firing rate as we saw over here. And that would initiate a sympathetic output that would make heart rate go up. And as we said, it would stimulate stroke volume. However, we're seeing that continue to go down. That is occurring because venous return is falling. Our venous return is fighting gravity in a standing position. Our central venous pressure is depressed from normal. That is going to reduce our end diastolic volume and keep our stroke volume depressed the entire time that we're standing. So we're compensating for that by having our heart rate rise, attempting to keep our cardiac output, which is the product of heart rate and stroke volume, normal. Initially, we see a little spike in cardiac output as our heart rate increases faster than our stroke volume falls. But then overall, we'll see that our cardiac output remains depressed for a prolonged period while we're in the standing position. Now you might think, okay, well, blood pressure equals cardiac output times total peripheral resistance. So if cardiac output is depressed, then blood pressure will be low. It does not. It is higher than normal, even slightly, because of the sympathetic output to the arterioles. That's going to cause constriction. That increases our total peripheral resistance, increasing our arterial blood volume and boosting the pressure there, helping to keep that blood pressure normal, perfusing our essential organs even in the standing position.